This is NNC, Neural Newscast. All the day's news and information you need to know starts now.
Broadcasting from the Neural Newscast newsroom, I'm Andrew Lindbeck. For political insight, here's what's new. President Donald Trump cancels a funding meeting with Democrats, increasing the risk of a government shutdown next week. Cassandra Joyce joins us with the latest.
President Donald Trump cancels a funding meeting with Democratic leaders, heightening the risk of a government shutdown next week. The White House and congressional Democrats remain far apart on spending levels, border security, and policy riders. Republicans say stricter spending and immigration measures protect taxpayers and public safety. Democrats say those demands are unnecessary and a clean funding bill keeps services running. Both positions reflect ongoing debates over deficits, enforcement, and social priorities. Congress now has only days to pass a stopgap bill. Agencies warn that furloughs and service delays could follow if talks stall. This is Cassandra Joyce for Neural Newscast.
Financial news and market trends up next. A related economic analysis outlines how a shutdown could ripple through the U.S. economy and markets. Here's Ethan Wells with more.
A federal government shutdown looms as Congress and the White House race to fund agencies. If funding lapses, hundreds of thousands of federal workers face furloughs, while many essential employees work without pay. Economic growth could slow if consumer spending dips and contractors pause projects. National parks, some passport services, and research grants would stall, while bond markets test Washington's credibility. Moody's warns prolonged disruption could pressure the U.S. credit outlook. Lawmakers still have time to pass a stopgap bill. This is Ethan Wells for Neural Newscast.
Now to policy and immigration. A new Department of Justice policy restricts bond for many immigrants facing deportation, prompting legal challenges. Here's what Monica Kellen found.
The Department of Justice restricts immigration judges from granting bond to many detainees facing deportation. The administration frames the rule as a public safety and flight risk measure, part of stricter enforcement. Immigrant rights groups call the policy unlawful and argue it expands detention without due process. Supporters counter that detention ensures people appear for hearings. Legal challenges test how much discretion judges retain and what standards apply. The broader debate weighs border control and court efficiency against individual liberty and judicial independence. This is Monica Kellen for Neural Newscast.
Here's what's making headlines right now. 2 detainees are dead after a shooting at an ICE detention facility in Dallas. Investigators are leading the inquiry. Now, Sarah Wheaton joins us.
2 detainees are dead and 1 is injured after a shooting at a federal immigration detention facility in Dallas. The FBI calls it targeted violence and leads the investigation with local police. Officials say the incident occurred inside a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility that holds people awaiting immigration proceedings. The injured person receives medical care. Their condition is not released. Authorities secure the building and relocate detainees for safety. No motive is announced. Investigators review security footage, interview witnesses, and assess how a firearm entered the facility. This is Sarah Wheaton for Neural Newscast.
A global perspective on today's events. Italy condemns an alleged drone attack on a Gaza aid flotilla and dispatches a frigate to assist damaged vessels. Now, Daniel Grove joins us.
Italy condemns an alleged drone attack on a Gaza aid flotilla near Crete and sends a warship. Defense Minister Guido Crosetto orders the frigate Faison to assist boats damaged in the incident. He says unidentified perpetrators strike the convoy in international waters, prompting an immediate naval response. The flotilla carries humanitarian supplies bound for Gaza amid the ongoing war. Italian officials say protecting civilian aid routes is a priority. The Navy moves to secure the area, assess damage, and provide escort. Crosetto calls the assault intolerable and urges coordination with allies.
President Volodymyr Zelenskyy appeals for more arms at the UN, amid signals of shifting U.S. support for Ukraine. Monica Kellen reports on this story.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy urges fresh military aid in a forceful address to the UN General Assembly. He says Ukraine needs air defenses, artillery, and ammunition to repel Russia's invasion and deter wider aggression. Zelenskyy warns of a new arms race if democracies falter and global deterrence erodes. His appeal follows recent remarks from former President Donald Trump suggesting different priorities on the war, raising questions about future support. Also at the podium, President Bashar al-Assad seeks to reframe his country's image after years of civil war, stressing reconstruction and regional reintegration.
Local officials say an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City kills nearly 24 people sheltering in a warehouse. Typhoon Ragasa makes landfall in Guangdong after deadly impacts in Taiwan and the Philippines, forcing mass evacuations. Thomas Golding is here with more details.
Typhoon Ragasa slams into China's Guangdong province after mass evacuations. Officials move 1 million residents to shelters as the storm brings destructive winds and heavy rain. At least 21 people died this week across Taiwan and the Philippines as Ragasa barrels north. China cancels flights, closes schools, and halts coastal rail service. Emergency crews pre-position boats and generators, warning of storm surges and landslides. The storm knocks out power in several cities and floods low-lying neighborhoods. Stay indoors and avoid coastlines, China's emergency management ministry urges.
President Bashar al-Assad says the country has shifted from exporting crises to stability amid cautious regional normalization. Now, let's report on the economy. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell faces a split at the Fed over interest rate policy as inflation and jobs data diverge. Cassandra Joyce is here with more details.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell faces a split over interest rates as inflation stays stubborn and unemployment ticks up. Dovish policymakers push for earlier cuts to support the labor market. Others warn inflation remains too high to ease now. The Fed's dual mandate is in sharp focus: stable prices and maximum employment. Markets watch for signals before the next policy meeting. A misstep risks slower growth or reignited price pressures. Powell says the path is challenging and policy must remain data-driven.
This is Neural Newscast, where machine learning meets meaningful reporting. All stories are reviewed for accuracy before release. Find our full archive at neuralnewscast.com.
A look at what's new in technology. OpenAI announces a major U.S. data center expansion, partnering with SoftBank and Oracle in a multi-billion-dollar commitment. Let's hear from Kara Swift.
OpenAI says it plans 5 new U.S. data centers, teaming with SoftBank and Oracle. The startup outlines a $400 billion 5-year expansion of computing power. The build-out would boost capacity for ChatGPT-style models and enterprise AI services. More servers mean faster responses, larger training runs, and better reliability. It could create construction and tech jobs while pressuring the grid to add clean energy. Expect stronger security, more regional redundancy, and lower latency for businesses and developers nationwide.
Microsoft adds Anthropic's Claude to 365 Copilot, signaling a more multi-partner AI strategy at the company. Benjamin Carter is here with more details.
Microsoft adds Anthropic's Claude AI to Microsoft 365 Copilot, expanding model choices for businesses. The move marks a shift from relying mainly on OpenAI's GPT models. Users can now select Claude inside Copilot's researcher agent to draft, summarize, and analyze work content. CEO Satya Nadella says the goal is to bring the best AI from across the industry to work. The move underscores a more open, multi-partner AI strategy at Microsoft. This is Benjamin Carter for Neural Newscast.
Medical research and public health headlines. Researchers report a treatment that slows Huntington's disease, marking the first therapy to change disease progression. Let's hear from Laura Navarro.
A first-in-history treatment slows Huntington's disease, researchers report. Early data suggest the therapy reduces progression and preserves daily function. Patients keep walking longer, speaking clearer, and staying independent more months. Side effects appear manageable with regular monitoring. One clinician calls it a turning point while urging continued follow-up. For families facing a fatal inherited illness, this is not a cure, but it is progress.
A separate study describes a gene therapy that slowed Huntington's progression by 75% in trial data. Let's hear from Isabella Wright.
A new gene therapy shows promise for Huntington's disease. In a 3-year trial, researchers report the experimental treatment slows progression by 75%. People still need monitoring and supportive care. But this approach targets the root genetic cause, not just symptoms. Doctors say earlier treatment could preserve daily function longer. Larger studies and access plans are the next steps. This is Isabella Wright for Neural Newscast.
Here's the latest on the environment. Scientists warn ocean acidification has crossed a key threshold, and multiple Earth system boundaries are at risk. Samuel Green is here with more details.
Scientists warn that ocean acidity crosses a key planetary threshold, risking destabilization of Earth systems. A new planetary health check finds rising CO2 drives faster acidification, harming coral reefs, shellfish, and marine food webs. Researchers say multiple boundaries, climate warming, biodiversity loss, and nitrogen and phosphorus pollution, are already exceeded. They describe these Earth systems as life support for billions. Ocean chemistry shifts reduce carbonate, making it harder for organisms to build shells. That threatens fisheries, coastal protection, and global food security. One scientist calls it a red light on the dashboard, urging rapid cuts in emissions.
Up next, more news you need to know. A provocative statue of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein appeared on the National Mall and was removed the same day. From the entertainment desk, here's what's new.
A provocative statue of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein holding hands appears on the National Mall, then disappears within hours. The artist secures a permit, but officials still remove it. The piece follows several recent anti-Trump displays near iconic monuments. Its swift removal raises questions about permitting, protest art, and public space rules. Park Service staff say installations must meet safety and location standards. The debate over political art in federal spaces continues.
Screen legend Claudia Cardinale has died at 87, remembered for roles in classic European cinema. Let's hear from David Mercer.
Screen legend Claudia Cardinale has died at 87. The Tunis-born Italian star shone in 8½, The Leopard, and Once Upon a Time in the West. Dubbed Italy's girlfriend in the 1960s, she paired charisma with fierce independence. Cardinale earned multiple David Di Donatello awards and global acclaim. Her legacy spanned 6 decades, dozens of films, and an unforgettable magnetic presence on screen.
Bringing you the next story in our lineup. China altered a film to change a same-sex wedding into a heterosexual one, stirring online backlash over censorship. From the entertainment desk, here's what's new. Here's what else is making news. That wraps our headlines. For continuing coverage and full stories, visit neuralnewscast.com and follow us on your favorite podcast platform.
That's it for today's episode of Neural Newscast, where AI meets accountability. Catch up on past episodes at neuralnewscast.com. And don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Neural Newscast integrates real and AI-generated voices to facilitate efficient, high-quality news production. Developed by human experts, our AI-generated content undergoes rigorous fact-checking and human review before publication. While we strive for accuracy and neutrality, AI-generated content may occasionally contain errors. We encourage listeners to verify crucial details from reliable sources. For more on our AI transparency practices, visit newscast.com.